and go live. So we're live, guys. We're pretty much live somewhere at some point. So,
all right.
Awesome.
We're out there in the ether.
Yes, we are. We're doing a simultaneous broadcast on YouTube and Facebook, so we'll see how this goes.
Godspeed,
fellas. Yeah. How's everyone doing? Craig, Doug, how you guys doing?
Good. It always is awesome to sit here and chat with you guys. And I know, last time we had a lot of fun, but it feels like it's been a while. So I'm glad to be back in the chair with you two.
I was going to say that too. It does feel like it's been a while since our last broadcast, but it was just a month ago, wasn't it?
It's about every 4 weeks that we do this.
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone's getting sick of us yet.
Probably.
Now, based on the turnout for the listener vote, was this the most votes that we've ever had cast?
Absolutely.
Well,
yeah, we had about 270 votes for the Facebook poll, and we had about 60 votes for Twitter. So it's 320 people chimed in.
And
how many are watching right now?
Well,
whether they're watching or they're listening the edited version, thank you. And I got to say, I had no idea that it would be the SmackDown that it was. It was like a Bull Hurley type dominance of that over the top win. I mean, it was amazing, and it really surprised me.
It surprised me too, and it upset me a little bit. Let me just keep talking, you guys, about the poll. I'm just gonna grab my paperwork again. I forgot it. Just 1 sec.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was such a bad beating. I can't even remember what movie it was up against.
No, goodness, it was an even match in terms of quality. I'm trying to think because we already did Lockup, so it wouldn't have been up against Lockup. It would. It's so funny that we don't even know.
What was the question?
It was
the other movie that was voted on.
It was Cliffhanger, but
right.
But it was like such a massacre.
I mean, well, and Cliffhanger is held in such high regard with the fandom that it really. I don't know if the Cliffhanger people were just hibernating and they hadn't woken up from spring yet.
I just think people really want to see this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a theory. When I put this out to you guys that we put, okay, let me just explain to our listeners. We used to do 3 movies, and Facebook doesn't allow you to vote for more than 2 movies, like or 2 polls. For whatever reason, their algorithm only allows for 2 choices. So you and I and all 3 of us talked about how we should just give the listeners 2 choices, and they can vote on 2 choices. And that's why a lot more people voted with just 2. I find people find it easier to vote for 2 anyways. So that being said, we said we can't put a dumpster fire movie next to a good movie, right? Now so here's a bit of a spoiler alert. It's been over 30 years since I've seen this movie. I saw it when it first came out in 1987. I have not seen it since. That's the true story. I just never rewatched it. I just have never seen it again. Now, had I known what I know now, I know why people want us to talk about Over the Top. This movie's terrible.
I thought you were going to call it a garbage fire.
Well, it is. It's okay.
So we did inadvertently put a garbage fire up against the good movie.
Yes, Cliffhanger is not a dumpster fire. It's one of his best action movies ever. I mean, it's an incredible, great, fun movie. There's just nothing that bad about Cliffhanger. So I think people who voted for Over the Top, they can't be serious. Okay, guys, do you like this film? And if so, are you saying it just to goad me, or do you truly like this film?
This is probably the Stallone film that I've seen most outside of Rocky.
What?
Yeah, I've seen this a lot over the years, and I loved it as a kid. And I'll tell you what, if I didn't like it beforehand, and like most of the other Stallone movies that we've reviewed, me seeing it either for the first time or for the first time since I saw it for the first time, covering this, I would have hated this. Because there is so much to pick apart about it, but I loved every second of it when I was rewatching it. I probably saw this, honestly, like 6 months ago. Like that recently. I've seen it a lot over the years.
So on your own accord, you said, I'm putting this movie in.
Yeah, I like this movie, man.
Okay,
I think one thing you can say, Ryan, is it's a good, bad movie.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad movie. It's a good, bad movie. It's well made. I mean, we'll get into that when we get into it. And forgive me, my wife's about to take the dogs out, so
I think you're saying my wife's about to take a dump. I'm like, holy smokes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into what you like and what you don't like, but I hadn't seen this since 2014 when we watched it for an early episode of the Slycast. I was surprised at how early in the run it was. I mean, I watched it again in advance of this broadcast, and I don't think my feelings have really changed. It's still a movie I like, but I mean, I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it again like Doug.
I don't know what it is about it, man.
Well, you're gonna have to defend yourself, and that's fine. It's good to have different voices when it comes to this. So
listen,
that's fine.
I'm gonna rip it apart because there are plenty of things to rip apart about this. But all in all, like I like it. It's a campy movie for sure, but it's just so stupid. It's good.
Is there something we need to sort of establish before we get into it? Because I listened back to our Slycast discussion, mainly so I didn't contradict myself.
Sure.
But also just to see where my head was at with that movie when I watched it 5 years ago. And I wonder if in advance you guys wanted to sort of talk about when that movie was filmed and when it took place, because a lot of the behavior in it is not acceptable in 2019, or things wouldn't have been easy for Michael to do in 2019. So do we want to sort of address that as it's happening, or just sort of
as we go through the plot of the film, go ahead and say this is ridiculous where applicable? Well, let's do our specs of the film. This film, anyone remember how much the film cost to make?
What, 22 million or something? And 12 of that went to Sly?
Yeah. I got 25. Off of Wikipedia, it said 25 million, I think.
It was 20. I believe it is 20. Yeah, 25 million. You're right. So 25 million in today's money. This was an easy one to convert, because I like to do today's money, because you hear 25 million, you think, well, it's still fairly inexpensive. Mm-hmm. But you just double it from 87 to today. It's just an easy double. So if this movie was made today, it would have cost a $50 million movie, and Sly would have been paid $24 million to star in this film.
Now, do you guys think that where Sly was in his career was part of what led to the poor performance of this movie? Because directly prior to this, his the prior theatrical release was Cobra, which was a hard R-rated movie, and then he turns around and he does this sort of family-friendly, pro wrestling version of arm wrestling movie.
I'm sure that has something to do with it. He did say right here that he was first offered this film by the Canon Film Company, and he turned it down. Rightfully so, he should have, but everyone has a price, and I guess $24 million in today's price is what he said, fine, I'll do it. And Stallone said he did it because he didn't think anyone would see it.
The director wanted him because he was, I think, the producer.
Well, that's Menahem Golan, who was, from Golan Globus.
Yeah.
And no one did see it in the theaters. That's the thing. I wanted to get to that. So Stallone was right. At the time, no one did see this. It would have made today, in today's box office, $32 million. That is horrible. That's a horrible box office.
But see, the other weird thing about this is you've got Kenny Loggins on the soundtrack, which, like, that dude was like, he owned soundtracks in the 1980s. That was a pretty big song, if I remember, where I was in 1987. I mean, it was a song you heard on the radio, at least.
Meet Me Halfway?
Yeah.
It's been in my head for 2 goddamn days, by the way. I woke up in the middle of the night singing it.
You deserve it, Doug.
If anything, I just think it's more a result of where Stallone's fan base was at the time than anything else, right? Because Cobra was a moderate success.
Yeah, actually, no, it did very well. I remember we haven't covered Cobra yet on this podcast. I really wish we were today.
It'll be the third time I talk about Cobra on a podcast.
That's awesome.
Well, you also got to think of what it was going up against in the theaters too, which I don't have right now, but that also could play a part into why
I'm on it, Doug.
Poorly. I knew you would be.
Okay, so It says here that Stallone was reportedly unhappy with the final film. In an interview with Ain't It Cool News, he said that if he had directed the film, he would have changed the setting to an urban environment, used scored music instead of rock songs, and made the Las Vegas finale more ominous.
Yeah, it was. I guess the finale was too much of a celebration. I guess like too campy. I use the word campy again, but I don't know what other word to use for it.
Right.
Did you read that the original screenwriter was brought to tears over how bad it was?
Wow.
He was apparently appalled at the changes that were made to his script.
That's hilarious. Well deserved tears. Well deserved tears.
Yeah.
Well, I got the. It opened on President's Day weekend of 1987, so they had an extra day of movie going for the box office. So you want to know what else was in the top 5 that week or that weekend?
What's that?
So number 1 in its 9th week of release, Platoon was number 1. And I assume that's got to be right around when Platoon, won the Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
In second place was Outrageous Fortune.
Sure.
Third was Mannequin in its first week of release.
Oh, man.
And then Over the Top in its first week of release took 4th place. And it would go no higher than 4th place. In the second week of release, it would be 4th. Third week of release, it was in 8th. And then
yanked.
4th week of release, it was 12th, and then it disappeared from theaters.
Oh man. Okay.
All right. So this
there
movie.
Goes my theory.
What's your theory?
Was that it didn't do well because it was up against a monster.
Mannequin was a monster. They had a sequel to Mannequin.
I don't know. According to Matt, they had a lot more over the top too.
Well, if you think about it, Mannequin probably shared an audience with Over the Top. I mean, if you're a family going to the movies that weekend, Platoon, you're not going to take your 12-year-old to, and even though my dad took us to it. But if you're the family going out to the movies, you're looking at Mannequin, which is what the woman that the mannequin that becomes a real life woman at night, or the Stallone arm wrestling movie. I mean, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Platoon definitely is the true winner of that box office, both critically and for aging well over the years. A good Vietnam movie does not age.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not an Oliver Stone film. This is this guy's name is
Menahem Golan.
Yeah,
Menahem Golan, a nice Jewish boy.
Really, you think? So yeah, it's a Menahem Golan film. Yeah, sure. Why not?
He's actually got a lot of credits, and I only know that because I did that research for the Slycast.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
This wasn't his first rodeo as a director,
but not a whole lot was noteworthy. He did some noteworthy stuff, but most of it was shit I never heard of.
Well, no, he's nobody, and he's dead now. Rest in peace.
Yeah, Jesus, easy. Lion.
Well, I'm sure we'll cover it when we go through our detailed and totally accurate plot summary.
Oh yeah,
but it's a well-made movie. I mean, you can tell the director's competent.
Hey, okay, Ryan, I just want to validate you a little bit here. They received 3 nominations at the Razzies.
Oh yeah, we forgot. Yeah, Stallone. We forgot it.
Can never forget Stallone is a Razzie stalwart here. But it actually was David Mendenhall who little Mike Cutler who took it for worst supporting actor and worst new star. One. The poor kid.
No, not the poor kid. Okay. Oh man. Now, Craig, I know you're not a parent. Doug and I are parents, and this is not a slight on you, Craig, but just as I'm sure you can understand what I'm about to say here. But if this was my kid and I hadn't seen him for 10 years, I would have let him run into the highway. I would have put that gear, big rig in gear and said, "You're right. I'm out of here." The whiny little, yeah. Okay.
He was polite, though. He was polite. He always asked if he could ask a question before he did.
He called him sir.
Sir,
oh, enough with the sir. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's start off with the movie here. So we got the opening sequence here. Is we have Stallone looking really handsome, looking really good, looking sharp. He's got a
this is prime Stallone in terms of his abilities.
Mhm.
Yeah, and this is what I was going to say. He looks fantastic in this film, like truly very handsome, looks really good. And that was the first thought I had with myself was like, what a waste of his prime to be in this piece of garbage film. He could have been in just give me another action film. Why not? Because these years do not last, and $24 million. I guess I would have done this for $24 million. Let's be honest.
Did you like his like shy, meek kind of persona in this?
It was exhausting.
That part I was like, okay, like be assertive. He was only like assertive in the arm wrestling ring when he went, psycho eyes.
Okay, we got. Let's just stick with the sequence plot.
Can we speak to something that's bothered me since even when we did this for Slycast and we never really addressed it? What the F is his name?
It changes.
Well, they call his name, according to IMDb and Wikipedia, is Lincoln Hawk. People have called him Hawks.
He called himself Hawks.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you could say it's like a nickname. He calls himself, "I'm the Hawks." And I
It
guess
doesn't make any sense.
I don't
Maybe
know.
that's how he got Michael back after he signed the contract. He was like, "Look at Grandpa Cutler. I signed Hawks, and my name is Hawk. Take that to your secretary."
And Link, and I did look on Facebook to see if anyone else's name was Lincoln Hawk in the world, or Christina Hawk, his on-screen wife. And yeah, there is a Christina Hawk on Facebook. So this is a name enough that somebody is named Christina Hawk out there. So it's a silly 80s name, but I guess it does exist in the real world. Okay, so let's go. So Lincoln Hawk is driving his rig.
Montage. We get a montage, which is like
right off the bat.
Yeah, is that a Stallone first, like a montage? Well, not counting the montages that start Rocky movies, right?
Nah, that don't count.
Those are recaps, though, right?
Yeah, that doesn't count as a montage.
No, we have a driving montage. We got scenery here. He's hauling some heavy machinery on his rig. We've got the opening credit here. David Mendenhall as Michael. So it's like, ooh, who's this David Mendenhall kid? He's, anytime you say as somebody in the movie, either it's their first time film or it's a big actor in a smaller role. And the scenery shots at the beginning, I'm at first I'm kind of like, oh, this is really well shot. Like we talked about, this is nice cinematography. The music's playing is kind of nice. It's like, oh, we got a nice drama coming up here, boys.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about as good as this film gets.
Well, this might be the earliest incident of a gratuitous shirtless Stallone shot. When he's at the truck stop washing himself up.
Yeah, does he not have any clothing that completely covers his body? Or
I don't think so. I don't think he owns any. At least not in this decade.
Well, where would he keep it too? Because he lives in the truck, right?
He does. Well,
we're led to believe.
We're led to believe that all he has is this truck and literally the shirt on his back. Though we should make note here, we do see that interspersed with this montage is some sort of military school graduation going on. So when you're watching this for the first time, like I pretty much was, I don't remember this film at all. And I will get to one scene where I think there was a Mandela effect. And I want to see if you guys are with me on this Mandela effect. So that being said, we see Stallone's character, Lincoln Hawk. He's washing his rig. He's taking good care of it. And then we see this military school graduation day, and where I guess we're led to believe, like, it did take me long to remember, like, obviously this is his kid, but he's not at the graduation.
And he's taking his time to get there too.
Why? Why is this happening in this way? Okay, so we already know later in the film that he was told by his ex-wife. Okay, I can't. Okay, I'm jumping plot because I can't do this. I can't go by a plot point. Let's just tell our listeners who haven't seen this film, or it's been a long time, his son is being graduated from this military school. He hasn't seen him in 10 years.
Raised by his grandfather.
Raised by the grandfather and the mother together in this big ritzy mansion. He's a rich grandfather, so he's taking care of his daughter and his grandson, Michael. But she's dying. It's unclear of what she's dying of. I thought she was dying of cancer, but I guess it was a heart condition.
Mm-hmm.
And so she told Lincoln by phone or however, hey, Lincoln, my ex-husband, do we know why he left the family? Is that ever
He had
established?
reasons.
Okay, what were they?
I know.
What were they?
He was selling drugs, right?
No,
that's what Grandpa told Michael.
So Grandpa told lies. Grandpa said he sold drugs. He was a violent man. None of these things are true, and that's why we see this really submissive and calm and quiet Lincoln Hawk. But he doesn't even bother telling his son. Like, the closest we get is that the grandfather drove a wedge between his daughter but who cares? I'd be like, screw you, father-in-law. I'm in love with this woman. Get the hell out of my life. Why are you driving a... Anyways, help me out here, boys.
You do have to feel like there had to be some reason for Robert Loggia's Grandpa Cutler to be the way he was. And if there isn't a reason, you have to spell that out. You know, so you have to feel that Lincoln did something. And much like in Driven, how we're told what a disaster Joe the Hummer was,
Yeah.
You know, it's all just alluded to. It almost feels like it's the same kind of character sketch here, because, I mean, why wouldn't Cutler want his grandson to be with his dad?
I don't know. And I still don't know. For all we know, this guy's a predator of some sort. Like, we don't know what's going on with...
I had the idea that maybe, you know, because Robert Loggia comes from money and Lincoln Hawk is just a measly truck driver.
I think it's exactly what it is. I think it's a stupid 80s trope where he's a rich dad, his rich privileged daughter fell in love with the, you know, the sleeveless, you know, muscle guy
from the wrong side of the tracks.
That's it. It's Romeo and Juliet. That's all it is. I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah, it was alluded to in our Slycast episode, and I promise this is the third to last time I'll mention the Slycast episode.
Oh, sure. Just plug your show while you're at it.
Just plug the archives. It was alluded to, or we asked the question of was Cutler mobbed up, or was he a mobster, and is that how he got his money? Because his operation seemed very mob-like, right? I mean, he had a personal secretary and not a lawyer that dealt with Lincoln in the jail.
He was like
a consigliere.
He was like the
Tom Hagen.
Yes, thank you. From Godfather. He's that's totally the setup here. It's a Godfather situation. You're right, Craig. I think he did come into money in a legal way. I don't think his business so they probably the son-in-law and the father-in-law probably had different ideals. You know, he maybe was trying to take his daughter away from her father, you know, so he'd get away from this life. This guy is a criminal. But what I don't understand is why it seems like the mother still loved Lincoln, because they called each other honey on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. When he goes to see her in the hospital, he says, I'm her husband, not ex-husband.
And also, which is weird, so we know later in the film, too, that Lincoln sent Michael letters for 10 years to correspond.
And somebody held on to while they were being hidden.
Yeah.
Like, so he just throw them in the trash? No,
they were in mother's panty. No, they're in mother's panty drawer. Remember?
But why would the mother hold on to him and not show him to Michael?
That's what I don't understand. Is that we're led to believe it was Cutler who didn't show Michael the letters from the son-in-law that he can't stand. But spoiler alert: when the mother dies in the hospital, Michael goes through his mother's room and finds the letters in her panty drawer.
And was like a purse or something.
And was the mother still living with the grandfather?
It appears that way. Especially, I guess, if she was sick at the end of her life, she might have moved in with Daddy to get taken care of at home for a bit. I don't know. And
did she have, like, did they say what kind of heart condition she had?
A broken heart.
Well, she died in surgery, right?
So, yeah, and the doctor was so aloof about that.
And old.
Yeah.
He was so old about it.
Probably like our age, Doug, but in 1987, people just looked like that.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Okay, so Lincoln Hawk combs his hair in the chrome of his wheel of the rig or whatever. What was he combing his hair using as a mirror? Was it the rig itself, I think?
Or was it the mirror on the rig?
Or something like that. So he's combing his hair. He's getting ready. He shows up at the graduation.
Oh, you know what? I wanted to make sure I remember this, and I'm not a note taker, But
Yeah.
I love how he pulls up with his truck. There's nothing hitched to it, and the guard's like, "Deliveries in the rear." What is he delivering? It's a truck with no cargo.
Yeah, I work on a military base, as you guys know, and this is a military school, but it looks like there's a lot of actual military there as well. So they have a security guard at the gate. And I'm telling you right now, there's no way in post 9/11 at least that you would just say, the guys just said, "Yeah, I'm just here to see my son. He's got this big rig. Oh, just go park it anywhere." And I always love how in movies there's always available parking right where they need to be.
Oh, right in front of the restaurant in New York City.
Yeah, and I love how this guy can actually have a rig and he can just park it right there on the front steps of the graduation. And, did you guys catch any of the dialogue of the people in the background? There was a few things in this movie that people said things in the background.
The ADR in this movie was hilarious, especially during the finals. But
yeah.
So the guy's trying to take the picture.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead,
and he's like, look at me, don't look at him.
Yeah, so when Lincoln Hawk first pulls in, people are looking at him like he's an alien.
Yeah,
like why do people like, who's this guy? Why is this man existing in my plane of existence? Like, what? He's just a guy in a shirt and tie.
Yeah, he wasn't dressed that poorly. I mean, he was wearing a denim shirt with a tie and suspenders, but everybody was looking at him like he was dressed like a bum.
Yeah, so someone actually said the ADR recording. Someone said, "Who's he?" Someone actually asked. You could hear it, an audible "Who's he?" If I was Lincoln Hawk and I heard someone say it, I'd like, "Well, who the hell are you? What do you mean, who am I? I'm me. Who are you?" What a weird, what world do we live in? Have you guys ever gone out in public or been at any event, even a wedding, funeral, graduation, where you've looked at anybody in the crowd and said, "What the hell are they doing here?"
Who's he?
Who's he?
No, yeah, I mean they really overplayed the guy that doesn't belong there thing. When I don't think he deserved it. He was just there seeing his son at his graduation.
It makes no sense. I guess they're trying to allude to the fact that the only credit I'll give that sequence is they're saying that he showed up late. The ceremony is over and people are already taking their photos with their loved ones. But even then, like, who's he? Like, oh, I'm sorry, I just dropped off my extra jacket in the car because I was getting hot and I'm going back to the ceremony. Like, who's tracking everybody to wonder who this guy is? Anyways,
my favorite part of this was when Michael asks, when the colonel calls Michael to his office,
right?
Because he's telling him that Lincoln's going to take him home, his father. So Michael asks for identification and he shows him a wedding picture.
Yeah. Yes.
Like no driver's license. He shows him a friggin' wedding picture.
Yeah. So for our listening audience, Michael, the kid, is summoned to basically the military school principal's office, and Stallone, Lincoln Hawk, is there waiting. This kid has no idea who this man is. This is so awkward. Now, maybe this is what Craig is talking about. This would never fly today. You have a complete stranger, male no less, in saying, "I'm here to take this kid away."
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the kid is completely blindsided. He doesn't know who this guy is. Well, I'm your dad. Look, here's a picture of me and your mom before I banged her. And what I don't understand is, like, the kid's like supposed to say, "Well, gee, because an adult told me, I guess I'm just going to go on a truck ride with this guy in his rig." And there's just no way this would fly today, or shouldn't fly today. And what I don't understand is, why didn't the mother just give him a heads up, saying, "Hey, after the graduation, just so you know, your father wants to reconnect with you, Michael. So when he shows up unannounced and late, but he'll look really dapper, make sure you go with him. Like, be nice to him, show him respect. He's trying to make amends. I know he might be upset, but he really wants to bond with you." Obviously the kid loves his mom, but the mom did not prepare Michael at all for this meeting.
Yeah, he was completely blindsided. And like you said, I don't think there was any reason for that. Why couldn't you set it up with the kid knowing that he's going to be going home with his estranged father?
Yeah, so the first part of their meeting, the first initial hurdle is, why the F are you here? Why the F are you driving me to Colorado to California? There was just no, the poor kid's only 10 or 12 years old. And how does he cope with a complete stranger? Craig?
I don't know. I was never put in that situation as a 12-year-old.
No, I don't think any of us have. I mean, even Jesus, at 12 years old, you would kind of, all your red flags would be thrown up, right? Wouldn't that be a little creepy to you guys?
Oh, yeah. So this kid gets into the rig with his dad. They haven't seen each other in 10 years. Of course, he would have only been 2 years old when dad leaves.
Yeah, but even worse, Ryan, not to cut you off.
Oh, yeah.
We know that the kid's been told stories. I mean, we don't know it now, but as viewers dissecting the movie, we know that the kid's been told that his dad's like a drug dealer and a loser and a washout, which would make him should make him even more skeptical of going anywhere with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the kid gets in the rig all the same. He's still wearing his military uniform, which will come into play later. Anyways, and so Stallone is trying to make conversation with the son, trying to catch up with him, talk to him. And the kid says, "No need to make conversation for my sake." But then the kid doesn't stop talking.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
he says things like, he calls his truck disgusting. You think you can make up for 10 years in 2 days? Like these little military brat statements he's making make me want to punch him. I never wanted to punch a 12-year-old like that before, but here we are.
Yeah, I really wanted to. He cries so much in this film. I'm surprised they didn't say, "I'll give you something to cry about."
Insulting his truck is one thing, but I mean, you gotta at least excuse the fact that he did have the right to give his dad a hard time about disappearing for 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's fine. That's totally that's fine that the kid was upset that his dad had abandoned the family for 10 years, but we as a viewer don't know why. And so I as a viewer, I cannot sympathize with the star Stallone, because I am a father. I can't imagine abandoning any of my kids for any amount of time, and at least without an explanation. I would be right away like, "Hey kid, here's the situation. 10 years ago, your grandfather, who's a mobster, tried to kill me, and I had to leave because if he said that I didn't leave, he was going to kill me," or something would make sense of why after all these years. And then Stallone could have said, "I sent you letters. Didn't you get my letters? You never responded to me. I should be mad at you. You never once wrote back." But he just sits there like a punching bag, and it does not explain to this 12-year-old, "Hey, I'm trying to rebuild a relationship with you, and the reason why it's taken 10 years is because of ... And we as a viewer, or at least I kept waiting and waiting and waiting for the reason why this happened.
And you got it.
It's also not it's not inappropriate. It's not inappropriate for the kid to ask him, "Where have you been for 10 years?" or "Why did you leave us?" And then Lincoln's excuses. Well, first he said, "I have my reasons," and then he just said, "I made mistakes. I wish I could take it back," stuff like that. But again, like Ryan said, we never got the reasons.
Yeah, he did say he made was it mistakes or mistake? He made a mistake or mistakes. I can't remember.
It was mistakes. I'm not sure. But I mean, either way, like I do think the kid deserves some kind of explanation. Give him something. Not "I had reasons."
Yeah, and in fact, the kid actually calls him out and says that's not really an answer.
Mm-hmm. But so, also, what was he writing in all these letters he wrote to Michael? Because we see that he was writing, 1 or 2 page letters here. So wouldn't he been like, "Well, don't you remember that letter I wrote to you in March of 1984 where I explained?" Exactly. Like what's the content of these letters and birthday cards? Because it seemed like a substantial pile that were hidden away in that panty drawer.
Yeah. It could have easily said like, I don't know what he would have wrote. "Oh, I was at the truck stop and I got an extra piece of pie. Do you like pie? My favorite pie is apple pie. What's your favorite pie?" I don't know. I don't know what he could have written.
Being an over-the-road truck driver too is a hard life where you're on the road for months at a time. But it's still I don't know if you can use that as a reason why you disappeared 10 years ago and never showed back up again, because even over the road truck drivers get time off, don't they? So you could be back home.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Whatever he did, it wasn't enough and painful enough for the mother to not allow him to come back into her life when she was dying. And she wanted Lincoln to raise Michael. So whatever this thing was, 10 years later, Christina is saying, Lincoln, I want you to raise our son. I'm dying. That's basically what's...
I mean, but was she dying? I mean, we know she was sick, but realistically, she was supposed to make it through that heart surgery, and then would she have been better?
I think
but what then?
I don't know. Look, she died. She must have read the script.
Right. If she did get better, does she get back together with Lincoln and then they raise Michael together?
I mean, she had to know she was going to die on the operating table. I mean, seriously, like...
She looked terrible. She looked terrible. She looked like she had cancer and a heart attack at the same time. I don't know. She looked terrible.
With Stallone 2 times previously as well.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Which films?
I believe it was Lords of Flatbush and Capone, which Stallone had a small role in.
You know, okay.
So we got a couple of comments here. I just want to make sure we say hi to our listeners. So Brent Kenny, thanks for coming in. He just poked a little fun at the for the exercise equipment, the rig. We'll get to that. And then one of our podcast friends, I Must Break This Podcast, check him out. I believe his name is Sean, right?
Yeah, Sean. What's going on, man?
Yeah, he says, Sean says, I'll admit I have a slight soft spot for this film. The relationship between Sly and his son feels genuine. Don't you think? So what's your comments on that?
Yeah, well, Sean lives in Colorado as well. So you've got 2 people on right now that are in locations or in states where this movie took place. So
I'm with you, Sean. I have a soft spot for this film myself.
Oh, I'm gonna punch you right in your soft spot.
I don't think, as far as the feeling of the father and son relationship, it's a little forced in the respect where how quickly Michael turns. But I do feel like once the turn does happen, I feel like it does feel genuine. It feels like a true father and son relationship. I
think, Doug, that's a big result of Stallone's abilities as an actor. And we saw this in Rocky V as well. Stallone was really able to tap into whatever place he had inside of him, you know, that father place. And I guess being a father himself, all of his relationships with his kids in those movie in any movie that he's made has seemed very genuine. And I think, you know, we talk about all the credit that Stallone doesn't get. I don't think he gets credit for the sensitivity he exhibits when he's acting around kids, and also how genuine those moments are. I do think that this kid was a really, really poorly written character. And I know last month we beat up on Stallone for his shitty dialogue. But again, this kid does not talk like a 12-year-old, even if he was in military school.
I think that's what we're led to believe, is that military school really shaped him out to be some intelligent young boy. And of course, Lincoln Hawk's like, whoa, what? You know, look at this guy. He's like high vocabulary, highfalutin in a weird way. And so Lincoln wants his son to kind of mellow out a little bit. That's the yin and yang of this relationship, right?
Should we get to the truck stop?
Yeah, well, before we get to the truck stop,
Did they
says,
like, yet? The Brute?
Say that
they're going to haul?
Oh, so, the trailer?
Yeah, the Brute alone?
Okay, that's right. So, before we get to the truck stop, the son says, I hate you. So, and then...
start someplace.
Yeah, Lincoln says we have to start someplace. And this is when the kid says, I'm getting sick. Can you stop the rig? I want to get out. Is that where this happens?
This is where we get Frogger, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the kid jumps out, runs across the highway, and Lincoln chases after him. Now, if you're a bystander, it looks like this guy is kidnapping this kid.
To any passerby, this is a child abduction. This is Amber Alert shit right here.
Yeah.
How do you describe that truck in an Amber Alert, Doug?
Can you
It's the only
imagine you're
rusty
driving-
red piece of garbage on the road.
Can you imagine you're behind this rig? A kid jumps out, and some burly trucker is chasing this little boy, and you're like, that's probably the dad.
Even still, even if it is a dad, most Amber Alerts actually are occurred by the kid's parent.
That's right. And Doug, you're a cop, right?
Yeah, you have to say that every time.
Well, I want to make sure because there's a cop question I have for later in the film. Yeah, we'll get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
If it's
so
about destruction of property.
just wait. We're getting there. Remind me. That's my Mandela effect question.
Okay.
So, where were we? So the kid runs away. Lincoln captures him, or captures him. Says, shush. And, well, he holds him and tries to coddle him, say, there. I know you're scared. And then holds this kid that he hasn't seen in 10 years. Like, I have a 12-year-old son. I've never held my kid the way Stallone holds his 12-year-old. It's really awkward for a 12-year-old to kind of be held that way, I think.
And is that when he ripped the sleeve as well?
Yes.
So the sleeve right off. So
the sleeve gets ripped off, but the kid insists on wearing this uniform jacket, even with the sleeve ripped off. Like, just take it off.
Yeah. Well, he's like, you'll be getting the bill for it. Like, was the kid ever going to wear that jacket again?
He graduated. He shouldn't be.
It goes in the closet and sits there until you decide to get rid of it, right?
Right. But let's just say, if we don't remember, they rip off on purpose the other sleeve. As a bond later in the film.
So
the kid rips off. That's right. Okay. So they go to the truck stop. So now they get back in the rig. There's a little bit of more peace in the rig. They're hungry. Let's go have something to eat at the truck stop. Of course, it's just a dive of a truck stop, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
it's jam-packed.
Yeah, it's busy. It's the busiest truck stop in America.
I did kind of like the moment where the kid gives him a hard time about the meal he orders, like the steak and the mashed potatoes or whatever, and he says he says it's over 1,000 calories or whatever, and
right.
I kind of dug that, and it speaks to like that whole idea that we always see Stallone loves to reference eating junk or garbage, but he's in like better shape than 99.9% of the population.
Yeah, the kid was probably ordering what Stallone ate that day.
Like he's cutting his pizza with scissors and Cobra. Like you can't tell me Stallone ever eats pizza.
Yeah.
Especially in 1985.
With scissors, because he's like, I've never eaten a slice of pizza in my life.
He didn't know how to eat it.
Obviously, you cut the tip off.
I think the kid's got a pretty good zinger here when Lincoln asks him how do you like the place, and he goes, I never did like the zoo.
Yeah. Oh, we forgot to mention Stallone had a hand in the screenplay.
That's true.
Another zoo reference. Well, retards like the zoo. So, okay. I'm just quoting a Rocky film before I get these social justice warriors on our chat. I'm just quoting a Rocky movie. Okay.
The views of Ryan Rebalkin are of his and his alone, and do not reflect the views.
Stallone Podcast Network.
All right. So they're eating their food or whatever, and then this WWE wrestler comes out of nowhere with this huge arms, huge hair, and he just comes up to him and says, "Are you Lincoln? I'm the Smasher."
The Smasher.
And who? Okay,
that's never happened to you before, Ryan.
Oh,
maybe it's a thing that happens down here in the States.
Well, where I come from, when you smash people, it's a different terminology.
It's the kids' lingo these days.
Hey, you smashed some this weekend? Yeah. So, so he challenges Lincoln to we don't know at this point. If you're watching this movie and you don't know there's going to be arm wrestling in it, you might just think at this point it might be a fight. Something's going down. He challenges him, and he tells his kid, like, I gotta go to work. I gotta go to work. And he puts on his hat.
But before the hat, or is it? He walks away with his hat on, but then as he's like they make this, they part the Red Sea for Lincoln. There's a crowd on the right and a crowd on the left, and he's walking down the middle of the aisle with these crazy eyes, man.
That was
he's
shot
crazy.
so well. That was shot so well.
Yes, I know exactly the part you're talking about. Yes. Yeah, it's now we see, for whatever reason, the beast comes out of Lincoln when it's time to arm wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. There's one reason why this movie stresses me out, and one reason why one of the main reasons why I don't like it. I have zero interest. In fact, arm wrestling itself stresses me out. Every time I see these guys arm wrestle, I am nervous and kind of like, I'm one of those guys. I don't like to watch bones break. You know what I mean? I don't like to watch stuff. So the whole idea that they're just twerking their arms like that, and the amount of like unnecessary exertion, yes, on their arm, and always the same. Usually, it's always the same arm. I know some wrestling championships they have like you have to do your off arm or whatever. But if you're both right-handed, you fight a right-handed person. But the point is, anyways, the whole idea of the arm wrestle and what it means, and it's not a measure at all of toughness. It's not a measure of anything. It's actually only a few muscles that are in that. And within this arm wrestle competitions, we'll get to it, I guess. It's just nothing. It doesn't seem there's any real rules other than you start square, you get to hold something on your left. But then they use an older body. Is that allowed? Are you allowed to like go down like this? Like, or go like, I don't know. Anyways.
I think as long as you don't let go, you can't lift your elbow off the table, and there was another, like you can't use your hand to hold the table. Like they got that grip there for you to hold, but you can't like grab the bottom of the table or anything like that. I don't know.
And anyways, the whole idea of arm wrestling is just so unappealing to me. And
yeah, I agree.
That I think that's but on not really positive. Well, I guess positive note. I'd forgotten how much little actually happens until the last half hour of the movie. The first hour of the movie, there's one arm wrestling match really with Lincoln does one with Smasher, and the kid does one with another kid at the arcade. Other than that,
double elimination with the kid.
Right. Okay, we're gonna get to that double elimination in the final half hour of the movie. But
now Ryan, I know you want to talk about this. At this same moment, we have Bull Hurley, for some reason, decides to show up at the truck stop.
That's right.
In a completely different state from where he lives and works, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a trucker too. He's a trucker too.
Oh, I thought he wears that Las Vegas.
But he may be that in real life or something. But within the movie, he's actually I had the closed captions on, and does say that he's also a trucker. Well, he says that he drives a truck, which I thought meant a truck.
Yeah, he says he likes to do three things. Yeah, one of them's arm wrestling. One of them,
break arms.
Yeah, break arms, drives a truck. Yeah,
drive a truck, break arms, and arm wrestle.
But like the kid is like playing with that little squeeze ball that his dad left behind, and like this is another 2019 moment. You don't touch somebody else's kid like that. Like
that is a creepy moment.
Comes up behind the kid and like wraps his hand around the kid's hand.
Yes.
With the shades on.
Yeah, good. So actually, one of our listeners here, Mike Valverde, he actually asked, does anyone know what Hawk is squeezing at the table? And I guess it's the same thing that he left at the table for the kids. So was it a ball or something? Or
I think it was just like one of those stress balls or something.
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought.
Is that another crossover from Rocky? His little ball that he flips around?
I don't know. I think you're giving it too much credit.
I'm pulling a Matt here with the universe crossover.
Yeah,
it's Matt. So just so you know, Matt's been chiming in on YouTube, and he just said that the original or some of the original script was darker. That there was a darker moments. That Cutler indeed was a mob man. That he was a killer, and so maybe there was truly that darker version that didn't happen. That's what the screenwriter was upset about.
Why is Bull so sweaty?
Everyone is, though.
But he's like this guy. He's wearing like a gray shirt when he goes to molest Michael Cutler, and like the top half of his shirt is sweaty. It's all wet, and
it's
then
hot.
I'll say. I mean, I sweat like that. If it's hot enough, I sweat like that too. So I can't take anything away from the guy. But god damn,
It looks like you're getting a little
And
bit
then,
glistening there. You're getting a little glistening right now there, Doug. You okay?
Emily, it's warm in here. These lights,
Yeah.
they're
I think
very
you gotta
bright.
take off your. I think you have to take off your shirt. I think we might get some more lady viewers if you.
We're almost in the tank top season, boys.
There we go. All right, so the truck stop happens. They have the arm wrestle Smasher. Did Smasher win the first round, or did Lincoln win both?
I don't think was there two.
No, theirs was
was
just a
just
single elimination.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was just one.
Now the kid called him a hustler after he won. Why would he be a hustler if he just won the match? Did anyone catch that?
Well, and he didn't even initiate it either. He was sitting there minding his own business.
Right. That's weird. You're a hustler. What do you say here? He goes, yeah.
Was Lincoln expected to put money up as well?
I don't know, and we're going to get into that with the final fight. You know how much? Okay. Let's just. I'm done with the plot. We're gonna go all over the place here again because I can't. As things come to me, I want to talk about. So the final half hour is the tournament, the arm wrestling tournament. Can we just first talk about the crowd and how insane and stupid they are? Is there any kind of crowd in any event that you've ever seen where it's just non-stop cheering and fanaticism? Like they were just like, this is watching people twist each other's arms is like the greatest thing in the world.
It's like the blood sport. It's the same audience from the blood sport.
yeah. Kumte.
They were there to see some snapped arms.
One guy's arm did break.
Yeah. Did you see that?
Yeah, the German guy broke his arm. No, it wasn't real, I don't think.
It was real. There is no freaking way you could fake that.
Oh, the bone, like.
Did you? I don't know if it wasn't one of the finalists. It was just some guy.
It was the German guy. It said the announcer said, "Oh, our German friend is injured."
Oh, did it say that?
Yeah.
He was wearing a black tank top and he had a mullet, and you could see you could see his arm dislocate.
So this is another thing we
absolutely
asked at the during the Slycast recording. So do we think this was actually filmed at the National Arm Wrestling Finals, or was it staged for the movie?
All of it was filmed at a real arm wrestling tournament.
Okay.
It was they invented a tournament to promote this movie, and most of the footage was filmed at the tournament except the Stallone stuff, which was filmed like the next day.
Oh, really? And was it filmed at the Hilton here in Vegas, or
wherever they were holding the tournament, which I think it was there in Vegas? Yeah.
So right down the street from me, by the way.
So one of our watchers here, Famaz Ali, said, what was the deal with the swap of the cap? Or what did it have to do with the arm, his strength of his arms? Anyone want to comment on the switching of the hat and how it affected his strength?
Well, it was like a personality switch, right? It was like when Batman puts his cowl on. It was just a way for him to get into character, and that was how he did it.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous.
Hey,
it's
Ryan,
better than it, right?
Ryan, I'm putting a video in the feed. Please watch it.
What feed?
On Facebook.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay.
It's
okay. Before I watch it, I know exactly what the part you're talking about, and I guess when I watched it, I was like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I almost don't want to watch it because I thought that's what I saw, but I kept going.
Yeah, dude. It's like a quick 6 or 7 second clip, but it's
oh yeah, he does. You're right. He dislocated his elbow. Oh, he did dislocate his elbow. They kept it in the film.
Yeah.
Crazy. Did you see that?
I can't open it up on my phone, unfortunately.
Okay, watch it. It's in our chat on Facebook.
Hang on, I'll send it right to you on the messenger.
That's okay, right. Cool. He did break. That is like hardcore. That's like the most hardcore thing. That's gross.
Yeah,
like, poor guy. But that's what I'm getting at. That's exactly when what is it? When an unstoppable force meets a immovable object, one of those things. They're putting so much exertion on their joints, right? That something's got to break.
One person gave that video a thumb down. It's the guy that broke his. It's the guy whose arm got snapped.
Well, yeah.
He gave it the thumbs down.
He gave it the thumbs down.
No. The guy. No, the guy that gave it the thumb down actually was the guy who had his arm snapped, but his arm was upside down.
He went to give it a thumbs up.
He meant to like it, but he's incapable of putting his thumb up. Oh my goodness. That is so terrible.
Yeah, that's bad. But that's the moment that you're worried about when you think about arm wrestling, right?
So that which I feared happened, but I blocked it out when I saw it. I actually saw it happen when it happened, but I didn't go back to investigate. I was like, "Oh, did he really break his arm?" But he did.
But you didn't want to see it again.
No, buddy. Thanks to you, and thank you for posting our feed.
Hey, that's what we got.
Yeah,
that's what we do here.
All right. So mom dies. They go to the hospital. Mom dies.
We missed the whole kid arm wrestling, which is
my bad.
Probably the worst moment as a father in the history of worst moments of fathers.
Yeah, pimping out your son.
Yeah, can anyone explain his reasoning for this? Like he hasn't seen his boy. Again, I have a 12-year-old son right now. I would never put my son in this position of like beat this kid in an arm wrestle. I know you can do it. You just got to do it. You just got to like bully. Oh, and this is where I'll insert for our iTunes listener. This is where we have another little Rocky speech that goes on way too long.
Yep.
Way too long.
The world doesn't meet you halfway.
Oh.
Well, first, so he bets this kid 2 out of 3, right? That Mike can beat him in 2 out of 3 matches. So the bully wins the first match.
Soundly.
So yeah, decisively. So Michael runs out crying, because his father embarrassed him. So he chases after him and he gives him this Rocky, driven inspirational speech about you lost back there because you let yourself get beat. The world meets nobody halfway. If you want it, you got to take it. If you lose, so what? You'll lose with dignity. It was just like you said, Ryan. It goes on for so long.
It was a long speech. It's like, yes, Dad, get on with it.
Yeah, like I don't know. He was trying to drive home too many points at once. If you don't go back there, you'll regret it your whole life. I don't know. I think if he walks away, he could probably put this little incident behind him.
Was this the second day together or their first day together at this arm wrestling?
This was their second day because remember, after the truck stopped, they pulled over on the side of the road and went to sleep.
Okay, let's talk about that sequence because they haven't seen each other in 10 years. This kid hasn't seen this man in 10 years. He doesn't know this guy from Adam, really. Right. And you've got Lincoln, the father, Stallone's character, telling his kid, if your head hurts at night, just come over here and lay your head on my shoulder or my chest. You basically snuggle with me at night.
Mm-hmm.
No, look, I have a 12-year-old son. If my 12-year-old son touches me with his pinky at night, I'm get away from me. Don't you dare touch me. I don't want any kind of contact with any of my kids above the age of 4 at nighttime.
Do you also think it was weird that like the kid didn't have an issue with not being able to like get ready for bed, like brush his teeth? And
I thought about that. No brushing teeth, no urinate. I got to pee right before I go to bed. Where do they go pee?
Yeah.
Side of the road.
It's so arbitrary too. Like they pull over, he's like, I think it's time to take a break or whatever. And like a minute earlier, the kid wasn't thinking about going to sleep for the night.
Right.
And then a minute later, they're going to bed.
But he does that whole, use my shoulder as a pillow thing. But then the next morning when they show him, it's Lincoln that's laying on the kid.
I know. Maybe I don't love my kid. Maybe I don't love my kids enough because I am not using my kid as a pillow either. Like this is just ridiculous. This is just how is that okay? It was highly inappropriate in today's Neverland documentaries. This should not have happened.
We mentioned dental hygiene, so you got your tooth picker.
You see that? Sometimes I forget we're on camera. Oh yeah.
But then the next morning, before the kid arm wrestles, we have the workout montage to meet me halfway. Where they're doing their little bicep curls off the bumper of the truck.
It's basically Stallone has to have some sort of exercise montage. It's just insane to me. Like this kid does 10 push-ups and now he can beat a kid twice the size in an arm wrestle.
So he had already used the Riggs weight machine too. Then at this point,
Mm-hmm.
Does
he
anyone
used
want?
prior to arm wrestling the kid, right?
Yeah. Does anyone want to talk about what contraption Lincoln had in his rig there?
Well, it can't have that much weight on it, right? Because Lincoln's using it, he's pumping it or whatever, and then he says he asks his kid to give it a try, and they don't show him adjusting any weight on it, and then the kid's pumping it too with no. I mean, it doesn't take any effort for the kid to do it.
It's just a handle tied to a rope on a pulley with a weight stack in between the seats. So he just
but how
do the
much
motion?
Then that the kid, that the kid was able to do it as well.
Yeah, no, it you wouldn't think it's that heavy if the kid can do it.
It had to be what, 5 pounds for the kid to be able to do it?
It looked like there was a couple of small weights on the end of the string, but it I don't know.
It doesn't seem like it's equipped to make Lincoln an arm wrestling beast.
No, I wouldn't think so.
That was purely for definition.
I also
He
think
was getting a serious cut from that because he's just sitting there all day putting his muscle behind it.
And I guess he only does the one arm too. Like you can't do the left arm.
no, but also like for I'm a weightlifter myself, and if you're trying to isolate a muscle, he's telling the kid to like put his whole body into it. That goes against every weightlifting principle out there. If you're trying to isolate a muscle, you work that muscle.
It's arm wrestling training though, which the idea that there's barely any weight on it is absurd because it's what's he developing there?
Yeah,
A sense of pride.
that whole yeah, I don't even think he's getting that out of it.
So Jason Haynes chimed in on our YouTube chat. He just said that stress balls weren't invented until 1988. So
That sounds like made up.
well, he's your buddy.
Yeah, and he's
Maybe
totally.
I was ahead of the curve, and a lot of times before things go to market, celebrities, have the money or the means to get introduced to it.
Yeah. So the kid asked him, "Are you going to get violent?" At one point. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that just alludes back to the lies that the grandfather told. Let's go back to the arm wrestling with the kid. So the kid loses the first round with the complete stranger kid at the arcade, and Lincoln says to him, "Over the top, you ready?" There's our first kind of reference of over the top. Does anyone want to explain to our listeners what over the top looks like when you're arm wrestling?
Well, Doug,
It's the crest of the wave. Like you arm wrestle in an arc, and once you cross the crest of that arc, then I guess you have the advantage. Like it's.
I thought it involved moving your fingers.
Yes.
Oh, the thumb? Is that what that was about?
Yes, he's okay, Doug. Whoa. Okay, Doug, stop.
Stop it.
I love you, but you're like a lovable
idiot.
Yes, because you yourself you've seen this movie who knows how many times. I could have told you 24 hours ago before I saw this movie again that over the top meant adjusting the hands and the fingers over that wrist to come over the top.
Never put that together ever.
You might have to hand in your over the top card, which you should do proudly.
I don't have an over the top card.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's why they always showed it. That's what it was. The idea that the placing the hands at a key moment gave you that extra advantage. Yeah, exactly.
I hate this movie now.
Yeah, as you should. As you should.
What's even more absurd is Stallone. Lincoln refers to that as the over the top. But then at the effing tournament, the finals are considered going over the top.
Mm-hmm. So what came first? The hand move? Was the hand move nicknamed after the greatest event in arm wrestling, which is called over the top? It doesn't matter.
Well, I guess calling the finals over the top makes sense with the way Doug explained it.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. He took the nickname or took the part of the arm wrestling tournament into his own move and just named it over the top as well.
I thought that move was like a little known secret that only he knows about because he's the only one we see do it.
It's really not fair that he wins, spoiler alert, the whole championship because not only does he have the power with
Bull doesn't lose twice.
Yeah.
No, but he oh, sorry, say that again, Craig.
Bull doesn't lose twice.
Double elimination.
It's double elimination. Lincoln loses in the semifinals when there's 4 guys left.
Mm-hmm.
And he's able to arm wrestle again, but Bull loses, and it's a double elimination. I mean,
what about the final match? Maybe that's not a double elimination. Maybe everything up to the final.
It was never stated that way. The whole tournament, and they took it upon themselves to let us know 100 times that it's double elimination.
Why did they keep saying that? It drove me up the wall.
Remember, dummies, it's double elimination.
And it's ridiculous, too, because it was like Stallone wanted to have his cake and eat it, too. Like, he needed to get that story beat in where he loses and he's able to come back from it. And instead of finding a creative way, to do that, he was just like, oh, we'll make it a double elimination and I'll lose in the when there's 4 guys left. It makes him look ridiculous. And
against the guy that drinks motor oil.
Okay.
And then takes an Alka-Seltzer.
And what's with the Alka-Seltzer? The Alka-Seltzer product placement. The black guy, the only black arm wrestler in the world, apparently, he was wearing the Alka-Seltzer shirt.
There was so much product placement.
What else did you catch? Oh yeah, Brute.
Yeah, the Brute. There was at the tournament. There was Fujitsu, Pepsi, and Duracell stands. There was one of the before the tournament. It shows Lincoln Hawk working out on a Solo Flex machine, and then during the tournament, there's a guy in the audience wearing a Solo Flex shirt. It was a lot.
The guy with the Alka-Seltzer shirt, he was the poorest sport in the whole movie.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I know.
Apollo Creed Light, I wrote down.
But he was like in his interview, his talking head, he seemed so cool. And then he was like, he became a total punk after, like, I wasn't ready. And, he's like trash talking and then he gets beat. And like, he goes to grab Lincoln's arm again, like he wants to arm wrestle again. I guess he had already lost once.
I know I hate to say this, but they made the one character who's black in the arm wrestling tournament. They made him the biggest loser. They gave him the shortest talking promo. They actually interrupted it, and it was seriously. It's like he didn't quite finish his promo, and they interrupted like this. I don't know. It was it didn't age well. Like as a 2019 viewer, like, oh, this guy really got the short of the straw in this film. Like they made him the sorest loser and everything. Well, and to be fair, every sore loser has every color of skin, but they should have probably had maybe somebody else lose.
Well, there should be some consistency there because, like in his interview segment, he at least seemed like he was kind of like a super positive, competitive guy. He's talking about his arm being a spark plug. It seems so out of character.
Yeah.
So the mom dies.
Yeah, I guess we should get back to the Lincoln Michael Cutler storyline, huh?
So they go to the hospital to visit the mom, which is weird because Cutler is looking. He's got his henchman and himself. He's looking for the kid. And you would think they would just have, a stakeout at the hospital because this is exactly where they went. Lincoln and the kid go to visit the mom at the hospital. But
the kid gets abducted after he arm wrestles the bully.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And then Lincoln chases him down in his rig.
Yeah. Can we explain how he can do that and smash into other vehicles and just keep driving? Is this like, and you hear the police sirens in the background, but they have no idea where you hear the sirens, but no cops show up. Like the cops are just inept in this film. Okay. Well, here's a question. So the mom dies. They're at the hospital, and the doctor says, "I'm sorry, your wife died."
Mm-hmm.
Did you catch that? Like totally. Like
she died in surgery.
I would be surprised if there was some gross malpractice going on here.
Maybe
by old man River.
Yeah, I mean, like that guy shows no compassion. Like he says sorry, but it almost seems like a technicality, and he's like, oh shit, let's make sure we dot all our I's and cross all our T's so that, we don't get sued.
The craziest thing happened. Your wife came in for heart surgery. We took out her heart. We forgot to put it back in. Crazy.
Crazy.
So the mom's dead. They're at the kid takes off crying again. This is like his 5th time to have a crying fit.
Well, again, there at least I understand it because he blames his dad for driving there instead of, I guess, or making all the stops they made. And he blames his dad for not being able to see his mom before she died.
That's ridiculous. I would have said, hey, if I didn't take you away from the kidnappers that your grandfather sent on you, you would be your grandfather when your mother died.
Have you ever heard of the concept, Brian, of like de-escalating during an argument?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
You seem to like the escalation side of things.
You take an angry kid and you make him even angrier.
Just so you know, your grandpa's an a-hole.
That is a good point, right?
Say again?
I said that's a good point. That if he was kidnapped, he wouldn't have been able to anyway.
So, so now the kid is with the dad, or so the grandfather at the grandfather's estate.
Well, they have the funeral first.
Oh, that's right.
We glossed over another thing that wouldn't happen in 2019. A hysterical kid hails a taxi cab, jumps in with a man running after him, telling him to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And the cab driver's just like, well, I got a fare.
Yeah, exactly. This kid. Oh, yeah. Okay. We also forgot to mention that the kid got to drive the truck down the highway.
Yeah, that's a good one.
He got a 2-minute driving lesson, which will pay off at the end of the movie.
Well, and that's the thing. So he's driving a rig. He's 12. He can barely reach the gas and the pedal and the clutch. And he's actually driving by traffic. Traffic is actually coming in the opposing direction. Can you imagine some unassuming family has no idea that this rig is being driven by a 12-year-old?
Yeah, but also Lincoln does that to sort of make his son feel stupid, because his son's basically saying, you don't have any books here. Most people, are stunted between the 11 and 13-year-old range, and a truck driver's got to be even lower than that. So Lincoln, in another Father of the Year moments, like pulls over and he's like, well, let's see you drive. And it almost seems like it was another moment where he was trying to prove to the kid that driving a truck is difficult. And Michael nails it. So total failure in terms of teaching your kid a lesson.
Yeah, it was kind of a bit of egg on the father's face. Like, oh, this kid's a fast learner and everything, I guess. He's a nerd indeed.
Isn't the learning how to drive thing a classic movie trope? Anyway,
yes. So the kid's driving a rig. The mom dies. The kid's living with the grandfather back at the mansion. And now Lincoln comes to the gate saying, "I'm here to see what's his name again? Coltrane,
Cutler." And did you recognize
Robert Loggia?
What the gate was?
The guard.
The guy at the gate? No.
Yes. Are you guys Big Lebowski fans?
I've seen the movie once or twice, but not. I don't memorize every character.
Remember the bowler Jesus, played by what's his
Totoro?
name? Yeah, it was his partner.
Oh wow,
Jesus' partner.
Oh wow,
He shakes his belly.
We'll take your word for it on that one.
Yeah, I've seen the film. It's good. I mean, I love the Coen Brother films. We should have watched that.
You like that better than Over the Top?
Yeah. So Stallone is at the gate here, and it reminded me of when he was at the gate with Troutman in Rambo Part 2. It was the same kind of intensity, like like that. So there were scenes that Stallone did that I really like. Oh, I like his intensity here, but then it's not enough, but then the intense scenes are silly because we're arm wrestling. But in this moment with the rig, now here's my Mandela effect. If you were to ask me 24 hours ago or 36 hours ago when I hadn't seen this film in 30 years, I would have told you. I remember the rig crashing into the house scene. I swear it happened in the daylight. For whatever reason. That's my Mandela. So if any of our listeners or anyone watching the show, if you can remember, it was the daylight. I have a very vivid memory of it coming. So when he arrived with this truck at night, and then when he backed up, I was like, what's he doing? What? I thought this was, I was like totally blown away that it was at night. Anyways, that was just my little Mandela effect. I just obviously had a false memory, but I could have sworn he drove that thing in the daytime through the property.
Now, what was Lincoln's end game here? Because he crashes through the gate. He drives halfway, or he drives over the fountain and a little bit up the stairs.
Yeah.
He does like extreme property damage here. So was his plan to grab the kid and get back in the truck and just back out and drive away like nothing happened?
I think so. I think the kid, if he had hopped in and the grandpa's like, well, have a good life with your father, he would have driven away.
I think he just wanted to talk to Cutler, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what it was? He just wanted to talk to him?
Yeah. So, but does it also seem out of character for how shy and timid he is?
Well, maybe this is speaking to the kind of man, the violent man that we're led to believe he might have been 10 years ago. I don't know. We're giving this movie too much credit that there's some sort of. They never gave us the backstory, so it's all supposition and proposing what he may or may not have been like 10 years ago.
I'll tell you who I want to give credit to is Robert Loggia and his A+ yelling.
Yeah. Well, I love the one line where he's talking to his lawyer, who's like, "We've went back 100 years, and there's no way that they're going to separate that kid from his father." And he says something like,
Yes.
You're a lawyer. It's your job to figure out how to, bend the rules or whatever.
Find the loophole, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so this is a question. That was great. Actually, I did write that down. They had their top researchers going back 100 years. I would have said
1887. How many cases do you think there were in 1887 that were relevant to the Lincoln Hawk case?
We got a couple of people joining in our chat here. Walt Murray, one of our favorite fans and podcasters. He did say that giving this movie too much credit is the most accurate thing you can say.
Oh, you bastard. Come on, Walt. They counted on you.
Robert Leatherwood, he chimed in and said that they actually just showed this movie in Dallas at the Alamo Draft House.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome. Robert Leatherwood, did you go?
Yeah, I don't know if you went. That's the question. So, Robert, did you go? Mike chimed in again. He said, just a quick side note that arm strength is a misnomer when it comes to arm wrestling. Technique is far more important, which is actually, that being true and accurate actually does add a little bit of credence to the film that Stallone, being so much smaller than some of these big guys, could be possible that he could win. That it's not about the size of the arm or the size of the man, that it is technique. I've seen enough arm wrestling videos that some skinny guys can beat some really big guys.
Well, especially at the end of the movie, Bull is 100 pounds heavier than Lincoln.
Yeah.
So Walt loves this movie, so he's making that clear.
Yes, he made himself right with God.
So, Walt, are you able to chime in? Do you want to come in on this live chat? Because we can invite you in. I can invite you in right now, and you can come in and chime in. You're a podcast extraordinary. If you want to tell us like 5 minutes or so, or join the chat as to why you love this movie, please, because I hate it.
Well, he was supposed to come on for which one?
Was that him? Was that?
Yeah. What was it?
Oh, which one was that? So, Walt, if you can come in, let us know. All right. Okay, where were we? Here's a cop question for you, Doug. So we find out later that the charges were dropped, but if the Stallone character just drives through someone's house, even if the owner says, "Hey, I don't want to charge this guy," is there still a police matter involved? Like if I go to your house, Doug, and I just drive through your property and smash up your house, and you're like, no, don't worry about it. Can I get off the hook and out of jail if you don't press charges?
Yeah. If the victim doesn't want to pursue any charges, criminal or civil, then yeah, you walk.
Okay. All right. Okay, that answers that question. I didn't know if there was something beyond the personal property issue.
Nope. Not if it's private. Public property is a different story.
Right. Okay. All right. Did anyone notice who the wrestler was? It's one of the henchmen.
Terry Funk.
Yeah.
Legend.
Yeah, very much legend. And he didn't have a speaking part. It actually only had one speaking part at the very end when he told Lincoln that
he's not done with you.
His boss. His boss wants to see him in the presidential suite. That was his first speaking. Yeah. And then Lincoln goes up to the presidential suite.
Well, no, did we gloss? So I know you want to get to the end of this.
No, go ahead.
Basically, Lincoln gets visited by his son at the jail. The son says, "I can't be with you."
All right.
It's just, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? And then Lincoln basically signs away his rights. He signs something. They don't establish what it is, but even at the end of the movie, when they're at the tournament, Lincoln says, "It's too late. I already signed papers."
Oh, so again, we had a fee disconnect there.
No, I heard it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, say it for me then.
No, I mean, basically, Lincoln signed some form of paperwork that says he's giving up his rights to be Michael's father.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
From a legal standpoint, I guess.
But yeah, so at that point, Cutler would have to make the paperwork disappear or drop the the custody agreement.
But why would he do that?
As far as Lincoln knows at this point, he's screwed. Now, if he were to take the kid, it would be legitimately kidnapping.
Yeah. So it almost seems like all the money he wins at the end of the movie, he's going to have to use for a lawyer to get his kid back.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's talk about
and enough money to undo all the damage he did by signing away his rights.
You know how much money he made? Like, let's just talk about it. So again, today's dollars, he bet it on himself.
Well, he sold a rig for $7,000.
Right.
So and he put all that money on himself, going off at 20-1 odds.
Yep.
Which would net him $140,000.
And what would that be in 2019 dollars?
So basically, today's money, he made $280,000 off betting for himself, $200,000 for winning the championship, and he got a $500,000 rig.
But Cutler offered him $500,000 in cash and a brand new rig for nothing.
That's right.
Just to go for tier.
But he got
now that's another thing that bothers me, Doug, because this is the speech up in the presidential suite, and I can only imagine how much people's heads hurt that haven't seen this movie that are listening to us, because we're jumping all over the place
as always.
But up in the presidential suite, he makes that sweet offer, and Lincoln even says, "Why are you offering this? I already signed the papers or whatever." And I almost wonder, Doug, if there wasn't something incredibly exactly legal about Lincoln signing those papers, because it's the only what Grandpa Cutler says, "Oh, it's just to make sure you go away and never bother us again."
Right.
But I almost wonder if he was trying to. He realized that he didn't have a great legal leg to stand on, or maybe Stallone could argue that or Lincoln could argue that he signed that paperwork under duress.
Yeah, that could be it.
He signed it in the presence of a lawyer. He signed it in the presence of a secretary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, under duress, that's that might be a valid argument. But like you said, giving him the money and the rig to make him go away and disappear for good is like his insurance policy that Lincoln won't come back and make a stink about it ever again.
All right, we're ready to talk about So let's talk about the tournament at the end here. We're near the hour and a half mark, if you can believe it. So we've already kind of talked about this big event. The crowd's crazy. There's 500 contestants.
All right, yeah, in a single day, and I know we're anxious to get this wrapped up, and I'm ready to eat dinner.
Sorry,
but Michael finds the letters when he's going through his mom's panty drawer.
Yep,
and he steals a truck, and then goes to the airport and buys a looks like Walt just joined us, and buys a plane ticket to Vegas. All things that in 2019, how difficult would that be for him?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're right. I didn't mean to gloss over that. That's absolutely true. The 12-year-old drives a truck, gets a cab, gets an airplane, all this stuff. And apparently this only takes so they're arm wrestling for how long? For 10, 12 hours? 500 people? This
double elimination too, Ryan. Double elimination.
So let's welcome our first guest on the Stallone Podcast Network show, Walt Murray. Walt, nice to meet you face to face, and welcome.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
What's up, Walt?
Hey, not much, Doug. How you doing, buddy?
Doing awesome, man. Doing real good.
Yeah, Doug's the only person that can help solve crimes in Atlanta all the way from Philadelphia.
Oh, wow. So, Walt, why don't you just tell us a little bit of who you are and plug your show while you're at it? We love plugging each other, so go ahead and plug yourself.
Well, I guess I'll talk about my show instead. I'm a part of the podcast, The Wilder Ride, and we are covering the movies of Gene Wilder 1 minute at a time. Last season, we did Young Frankenstein, did 103 episodes, and now we are working our way through the classic Blazing Saddles.
Nice. Great movie. Speaking of 2019, a movie that could not be made today.
No, it could not.
Should go deep into that one.
Yeah, I think actually we talked about that some, Doug, when y'all were on our show, right?
Yeah, me and my co-host Jay were guests on the Wilder Ride a couple weeks ago. Episodes airing in June, I believe you said.
Yeah, I think so. They're coming up here pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to listen to that. I just haven't yet, Walt, because I want to rewatch the film. I've only seen it once or twice throughout my long life, but I do want to watch it again before I have it broken down minute by minute because, yeah, it's definitely a classic, and I definitely enjoy it. But it's not enough to listen to your show without rewatching the film. So it's going to happen.
I would definitely watch it before you start listening. There's a lot there. It's a kind of layered movie, and a lot of jokes you don't want to miss. And
right, absolutely.
So yeah, but hey, thanks for pulling me in.
Yeah. So the reason why Walt just literally just me too'd on the show here is because he has a sorry.
All this plugging and me tooing.
Yeah, really.
So he just inserted himself without permission. No, I'm just joking. We invited him in. So Walt, why don't you tell us why you love Over the Top?
Well, a couple reasons, and I sure don't have the level of knowledge of it that y'all do, but it to me has just always been a really fun movie. And, like with a lot of Stallone movies, it doesn't take itself too seriously. And it has that great Stallone formula of, kind of the underdog, the guy who's really under the pile of life. And he finds a way through whatever medium to come out on top. And it's just a fun Stallone movie. It's got some great lines in it, and shows Stallone being Stallone at his best.
Okay. Well,
couldn't agree more, Walt.
Oh, Doug, stop.
And it's not one of those that you're going to look back and go, hey, this and Gone with the Wind and the other classics, but
and here's the thing, like we have a whole channel dedicated to Stallone and his films, and I know it seems like maybe that's just the type of film Stallone has, but we have a lot of dumpster fires that we've reviewed. It's Stallone's career, but I love him, and I love him in this film in many ways. Like I love Sly, and I love how he looks, and there's a lot that he does that's really good. And I think again he's beholden to a really cruddy script that he had a hand in. And I know that he's able to do so much more. I don't know why they don't just take an extra week or two to fine tune things. I don't know what the rush is. I don't know.
Do y'all find that happens with a lot of his kind of side projects? Like I kind of felt like that's some with Cobra, even though I love that movie. It doesn't seem like they really tuned it up like they needed to before they started production.
It's the stuff that he has his creative hand in because he was so notoriously tough to work with and hard to sway that he wanted things done his way and he wouldn't listen to reason when there were probably pretty good filmmakers around him that could kind of guide him in the right direction if he would let them.
Yeah, Robert Thomas actually said here in our chat, he said he thinks that this might have been a movie that Stallone ghost directed.
The movie?
No, a movie.
Yeah.
The career full of movies.
Yeah.
Well, we've said this before on our show that Stallone seems to pick directors if it's not himself, someone he can kind of, he's Stallone. Look, he's Sly. When he walks in the room, it's like we talked about this that he's Sylvester Stallone. Everyone turns to look at him. I can only imagine what it's like to be on a set with this guy who's made Rambo and Rocky, and you're just some basically foreign director almost. It's like, I'll take care of this.
Well, that's the thing, Ryan. I think he was grabbing guys that either didn't have the ego or didn't have the reputation or cared about their reputation enough to not just take the money and be like, you know what, this will help me get my next gig.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I've always said I wish Tarantino would grab him for something, or David Fincher or Martin Scorsese, someone that he might not challenge, somebody that would challenge him. And that's why one of his best movies, Copland, is from early in his career director. Name escapes me now.
Who?
The director of Copland.
Oh, James Mangold.
Yeah, that's right. So here's a very good director, but we didn't know how good he was going to be later in his career. But somebody that probably challenged him, somebody that said, "Hey, let's do the scene again. Why don't you try this?" I guess somebody that.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, we've seen that, and I don't want to get into a whole discussion, but this could be a whole nother episode unto itself. But I kind of feel like we saw that with Creed and Creed 2 with Ryan Coogler and the gentleman whose name escapes me that directed Creed
Stephen
2.
Caple Jr.
Yeah. Those were both young, energetic, really creative filmmakers that I think did, hold Stallone to a certain standard. And I think the way those movies turned out are a direct result of the strong directors that were behind those projects.
Exactly. This director did not challenge Sly whatsoever. He literally, and you know what, got paid $24 million in today's dollars. I don't know if you caught that, Walt. It's $24 million. This budget was only, in today's budget, would have cost, was it $50 million, and half of it went to his paycheck.
Yeah. But Golan was a producer, and I think Doug alluded to this at the beginning. Is as a producer, Golan was probably willing to do whatever he needed to do to get Stallone to sign on to a project that he didn't want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the money talked. That's what it really came down to. So do you think that Stallone didn't put his heart into this because
why would he?
Paycheck?
Does he really believe in this project? Does he really believe in it? Like, come
hard
on,
to not put your heart into something that you're getting paid $12 million for. I'd show up this tutu if they wanted.
Well, I put my heart into a podcast I don't get paid anything for. I think I'm actually at a loss. So
I think that makes four of us.
Yeah. I wore a diaper for Stopper My Mom Will Shoot. The least he could have done is shown up for this.
Well, here's the thing. I honestly believe he put a legitimate failed effort, mind you, into Stopper My Mom Will Shoot. I think he was trying to be funny. I think he was actually trying to be funny. With this, he just played the one key, like, crazy. I turn crazy eyes and snarl when I'm arm wrestling, and I'm really sheep and meekish when I'm not arm wrestling. Mm-hmm. It's really a two-tone performance.
Well, I think we should get back to Craig was talking about Mike stealing the Jeep, right, Craig? Yeah. And going to the airport
and having the money to buy a one-way ticket to Vegas,
right? And apparently he finds his way all over the airport, including the baggage claim.
I give this kid credit, as annoying as he is, and as a crybaby that he is. My kid can't even find matching socks, and he's 12 years old. This kid actually traveled across the country on his own. That's pretty good.
Yeah, how old was he supposed to
be? He hides on the cart that all the luggage is on. People manually take all that luggage off and put it onto the car, the belt. But he comes up that belt, so he had to interact with somebody at that point.
In post 9/11 world, there's no way a kid, adult, anybody is finding their way inside a luggage compartment.
No. That was ridiculous. So when he came out of the luggage, was he hiding in the plane? Is that what it was?
I don't think he was hiding in a plane, but he when he landed, there was Cutler's bodyguards were waiting for him at the airport when he landed. So that's when he hid amongst the luggage that was coming off the plane. I don't know. I'm getting a headache right now. Just thinking about it. Walt, what do you think about this post 9/11 world at the airport?
Oh, my luggage barely makes it on the plane, much less getting a person on. But I mean, there's no way a kid could have pulled that one. Now, a lot of us kind of thought through how to do stuff like that, but no, there's no way.
Why are they slapping each other in the face?
To psych each other up.
I would be like, ouch, that hurts. Why are you doing that?
You had a Mandela effect moment earlier on, and I kind of had one here. I thought, I don't know what movie this is in, though. There's a movie where two guys trying to psych each other up, spit in each other's mouths.
Oh,
after slapping the shit out of one another.
I think you're watching the wrong video online.
Yeah, that may be some kind of Filipino. I don't know what that is.
I swear to God, I remember that from something, and I can't think of what.
Well, there had to be something in this that was kind of a Stallone trademark move or line or whatever. So it kind of makes sense that they would come up with something like that, right?
I'm going to look it up. Well, I mean, a trademark out of the realm of possibility Stallone move is Grizzly drinking motor oil.
Yeah, so this guy before an arm wrestling match drank castor oil, and he says that I'm going to go through you like gas through a funnel. So not only was he not drinking gasoline, he was drinking motor oil. Does anyone want to explain how motor oil might help your arm wrestling prowess?
It would kill you.
Right.
Yeah.
It gives you an out.
Oh, and then we see like some sort of comedic effect. He's taking Alka-Seltzer to for his upset tummy. He would be puking so bad. He would have been dead. Would you not die drinking oil like that? I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah. So, last thing, I'm getting near the end of this. It's we're looking at the hour and 40-minute mark. Thanks a lot, guys. Another beast of me to edit. But do you guys want to talk about the promos that they had? They have these little interviews, like documentary style, before the fights.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit of a highlight as well that we saw. It almost seemed real-ish that the actors playing these muscle roided out guys were talking kind of calmly and stuff, almost showing that their bravado at the table is a show and that they're not really like that outside of the competition.
But didn't it also make you sort of regret that they didn't utilize Bull more or better? And my final Slidecast throwback, Jeff Hewlett on the episode referenced that they should have somehow found a way to have maybe even Bull working for Cutler as a way to get Bull even more involved in the story, because that guy was so darn charismatic. Great look, great delivery, just everything about that Bull character, except when he was making the little boy uncomfortable, was just rock solid.
Yeah. He wanted to take the bull by the horns. Okay, so
You and your dad jokes. And of course, Walt is laughing.
Thanks, Walt.
I'm sorry, I should not be laughing at that.
Oh, but you're a dad joker yourself.
Oh, I'm terrible.
So Mike chimed in again. Mike Valverde, thanks, brother. He's listened to the whole show. He says it was really cool about those promo cuts. He said it gave some quick insight to the characters. Yeah,
it kind of like humanized the characters and showed like because in each of their interviews they're really subdued and kind of soft spoken. Including Lincoln Hawk. But I mean, it like you said, Ryan, it shows that like them getting psyched up on stage is like just them getting psyched up for their moment of performance. That they're really just normal guys.
No, but see, they're not normal guys because at least 3 of them reference wanting to break people's arms, and normal people don't think like that.
No, fair enough.
They're normal-ish.
All right. Well, my last thing is they underused Terry Funk. Here's one of the greatest hardcore wrestlers ever, and they had one little scuffle, at the patio. He smashes Terry Funk through the fake glass
door in the presidential suite, and Funk does the job.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Like here, they had like probably the greatest hardcore wrestler ever in history. Why did they not have a freaking like throwing around the presidential suite fight? In today's movies, they would have done that. Do
you think it would have ended with him taking a dive off the presidential suite?
That'd be
and maybe landing on Cutler's truck that he was going to try and bribe him with?
Maybe right through the windshield.
Well, hey guys, I hate to do this, but I'm going to have to slide out. We're about to have a huge storm here. So,
oh really? What kind of storm?
They're saying
a shit storm.
Yeah, we got that going too.
We just went through that.
We might get some tornadoes tonight. So that.
Oh wow!
But
well,
yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, right, we'll hope to do it again. And Walt, good job. The Wilder Ride. Check out Walt, and hopefully you don't get sucked away by a tornado. If you do, it was nice meeting you.
Yeah, if not, I've got 2 years of good work behind me. So
there you go. Your legacy will live on. I really hope you don't die tonight. This is
You're gonna feel terrible, and I'm gonna laugh on the way up. Hey, thanks, guys. See y'all later.
Cheers.
Cheers, Walt.
Bye.
All right, we're going to close the show up, guys. Why don't you go ahead and say who you are and where you're from for our listeners. We didn't do it at the beginning, so, oh, well.
We're not going to talk about the end of the match?
Oh, he won.
Oh, my God, he does win.
He takes the kid. Okay, so he wins. He beats Bull. Bull doesn't get the double elimination credit. Maybe one of our listeners could tell us why that is. I think it's just because it's the final fight.
The ending just blows my mind. How Cutler just watches Hawk and the kids celebrate, and then just decides then and there that he's going to let Lincoln have the kid, and that's it.
Well, I think he's just, I know it's cliche, but it's the ending of the film. He's just showing, oh, look, the kid really is happy with him.
Yeah.
But
there's no scene that shows the conversation. It's just, the next day, the Lincoln and the kid are walking away together.
That's right. It's the Hawk and Son, or Son and Hawk rig company now. And Lincoln puts the Hawk from his old rig onto the new rig. Yeah. And the kid says, can I drive this thing? And he's like, well, aren't you partner?
The end.
So, Doug, you really like this film? Come on, seriously?
I'm telling you, I enjoyed watching it for this. It has problems, and like I said, if I was watching it in preparation now for the first time in 20 years or the first time ever, I would have hated it. But I've seen it probably a couple of dozen times in the 30 years.
I would rather watch Stop or My Mum Will Shoot.
Really?
I think so. I think I actually know I would. I'd rather watch. To me, for me, I'm a bit of an empath. I don't know if I told you that. I see myself in films, if that makes sense. So I have a hard time as a father separating what this dad has done to this kid and how he's trying to bring this kid back into his life. He never explains his actions. I don't trust Lincoln. As far as I know, Michael's dead. He took the kid and killed him. We don't know what his history is. Maybe he was violent. Maybe he did have a dangerous past. I know that the grandpa let him go, but it's never explained what he did. Did he fool around on his wife on the road?
This is such a surface level movie that you're not intended to look that deep into it. Yeah, I enjoyed it for what it is, and I still, all these years later, I still like it.
It's 90 minutes of brainless entertainment.
Yeah.
I was so happy to see the length. When I opened up the video, I was like, oh, good, 90 minutes.
Yeah, not like that 2-hour abortion that Driven was.
Yes. Driven was 2 hours. But I know it sounds like, for our listeners who've plowed through this, and I know I've sounded hard on it. I think what it is, Doug and Craig, is that I had better hopes because everyone was swearing by this film, and I haven't seen it in 30 years, and everyone was voted for 3-1 votes. This thing won, and people said, this is great. I love this film. And I was I left really? This is a bad TV movie of the week. Well, and I was disappointed. I guess I was legitimately disappointed. I was expecting better. And I was I
guess lesson learned, Ryan, is when we try to avoid a dumpster fire, we're going to end up with a dumpster fire.
I think so.
So no matter,
I want to thank all of our listeners. Oh, sorry.
No matter what we do, dumpster fires are in our future.
Well, we've done some of the worst ones. So we got some good movies ahead of us, I believe.
Cliffhanger. Let's be honest. I almost don't want to put a vote out because I hate our audience.
Now I feel after our first 4 episodes where I couldn't get my movie picked at all.
So Cliffhanger, I still want people to vote because it's good interaction for our shows. It puts our show out there. I'd like to put Cliffhanger up against something, but I'm trying to think of what would be an equal fight with it.
Get Carter?
Probably Cobra.
No.
Cobra would win hands down.
And I think Get Carter would too. Get Carter is another film that the fan base loves.
Really? Daylight.
Well, I would say Daylight versus. We'll talk about it offline. Maybe if any of our listeners give us some suggestions, what would be an even match against Cliffhanger? I'd be interested to hear what people have to say about that. All right, I'm Ryan from the Going the Distance, the Rocky Series podcast. You can catch me on obviously if you're listening on this feed or this site, that's where we are. Keep listening to our show and liking us on Facebook and Twitter and iTunes if you don't mind. Sorry, go ahead there.
No, Ryan, I was going to say that you always promote your Going the Distance podcast, but I think the listeners really need to know about your other podcast,
the worst of the best. The worst of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's our little podcast that it's small and little compared to the audience that this one has. So yeah, I don't know why I keep forgetting to plug our other one. I do it on our feed just to remind listeners that Ruben and I have a second podcast called The Worst of the Best. Variety of topics. They're short episodes, easy to binge, and we just talk about a variety of things. We pick really just every best list there is. There is a stinker in every list, and we basically pick the worst of that list from music, movies, food, you name it.
Your Motley Crue one was great.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
I like the your last one, the lead singer replacements. That was probably my favorite, worst of the best episode so
nice.
far.
Thanks, guys. It. Thanks. So you're two listeners. Thanks, guys. And my mom. So all right, appreciate it.
Well, I'm Doug from Rocky Minute. We cover the Rocky movies 1 minute of movie time at a time. So we finished 2 seasons, 118 episodes of season 1, 117 episodes of season 2. And we're taking a well-deserved break before we go head first into season 3. So coming soon.
Nice.
Can't wait.
When are we getting that Creed Part 2, Craig?
You want to edit it for me?
No, I gotta edit this thing.
It's coming. Actually, Creed, the Slycast Creed Super Special Part 2 episode is going to be my discussion with Mike Kunda, who is always an easy interview to edit, and also the discussion me and you had, Ryan, which I think in terms of editing, I think those are going to be really easy to put together. I just got to bump them up together. I got a submission from Matt, our buddy Matt from Rambo Mania, about some backstory for Ludmilla. So I would say in the next couple of weeks we'll get that, and then Slycast will deliver our Judge Dredd episode as well, and then we're going to be ready to deliver more exciting content.
Are you laughing at the dog?
What's that?
I'm just laughing at the dog, just kind of chilling there next to you.
That's my Frida. She's the best.
I thought you were laughing at this is like the 5th episode. I gotta go back. It's like the 5th episode in a row where he's mentioned the Judge Dredd episode.
Ryan, we recorded the Judge Dredd episode. Like I want to say it was like right after Thanksgiving.
That's awesome. Hollywood's going to do a remake of the remake by the time it gets out.
You know what? And Ryan and Doug, as editors, I mean, I don't know what your editing schedule is for the Rocky Minute, Doug. So you might be in a similar boat, but like I tend to like to edit things as close to when I recorded them as possible, so I can remember, what might have been going through my head. But so it's just so scary to go to footage you have or recordings you have from months ago, and then you're just like, well, I got to dive in now and figure this out.
Those are always daunting because you don't remember what you.
The Judge Dredd discussion is a lot of fun, but also the Creed 2 discussion with Mike and then Ryan, it's really good as well. And I think the response to the first Creed Super Special, Creed 2 Super Special was really positive, and I was glad we were able finally to share that.
I had a lot of fun with that.
Our conversation was really solid.
It was good. And you guys did great. I as a listener, I want to say again, I say it every time, but I listen to your guys' shows. I'm a fan of you guys. It's always cool to do the show together with you because I'm also a fan of your guys' show. So thanks for all the work you guys do.
Oh, and thank you, Ryan, for really, holding it down here, and doing all the heavy lifting. I know that Driven episode, there was a lot of audio drop-ins that you did that really ended up enhancing the episode. And I know it wasn't fun for you, and it took valuable time away from, from your family, and also probably took a little bit of your sanity.
Driven was a horrible movie, but it was a fun discussion. All right. So last thing, Oscar, Freudian slip. So Over the Top, I guess it just in the end it disappointed me. I was hoping for a better film.
Better luck next time.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for watching and listening, everyone. Have a good night.
All right. Take care.
So long.